Hello everyone, welcome to Zaref Game Dev. In this video, I'm going to create the checkers game in Unity. So let's first start by creating the design document. So let's see how the game works. So in the design document, this is how the game will look. The size may be different, but we'll create somehow like this. So in the basic outline, the rules of the game are as follows. So as you can see, there are 12 pieces, and each piece can only move on the black square. The red piece moves first, or the darker piece, and it can move only diagonally in the forward direction. And there are 12 pieces for the each player, and will move diagonally. If we can capture, so the capture will happen as we have one here and this one is empty, so we can capture this piece. So if we can capture, then we'll always capture, and after capturing a piece we'll see if we can capture again. So it on every turn we'll see if we can capture. If we can capture, then we must capture. If more than one ways to capture are available, we'll select any of these ways. And whenever a piece reaches the end, so for the red it is this row, and for the blue it is the zeroth row, it will become a king piece. And the king piece can also move backwards, so it can move on the all the four neighboring black squares, and the game finishes when any one of the player when can't make a move. So let's see the visual scripting first. I'll create the game. I did it when I created the game, so you don't need to do it now. And this is just a basic outline of how I'll create it. So the first one's for the constants, where I'll store all my struct enums and the constant. So the first enum for the player, and then the grid, and there is one struct for the move. And for each move, we'll store its start and the end position, and then we'll check if it is a captured move, and if it is a captured move, then we'll store a captured piece inside it. And there are some strings, and each game there's class for the game piece. Each game piece will have a player and a piece number and its piece type, which is the normal piece or the king we have created in the constant. And at the constructor will pass the player and the piece which we are going to create, and we'll set its piece type to normal for now. And then we'll create the basic gameplay, which will create the start and the quit button and the title text, and after that we'll instantiate the board. So for instantiating the board, I have created a block prefab, and we'll set its color to uh, light gray or black depending on wherever it is. So on awake we'll spawn the blocks, and we'll loop twice, and we'll instantiate a new block and set its transform to I negative j, so it will be spawned at its respective position. And then we'll set its color to I%2, but we need to set also the darker color. So, and it switches every row, so we'll add j to it so it will do the trick. And if it doesn't, we'll debug it on spot. And then we need to move the pieces. So uh, as you can see in the awake, I am setting up the variables, and it will you'll be able to understand it when I'll create the game. So let's see. In awake, I'm setting the game state to click, setting up the new board, and in the board there's just for this uh, instantiating the pieces. We'll instantiate the piece at its starting position, which we have done it here. I don't know how we'll do it, but we'll set its initial positions. And depending on it, we have created a function which is the get piece of grid. So it will check for each game piece. If its player position matches, then it will return that game piece. And what we are doing in the update is, first we'll check if the game is not finished, then we are checking for the input mouse button click, and then we are getting its grid. And after getting its grid, we are switching on the game state. So at first it will be start, then we'll get the clicked piece which is at the get piece at grid, and it will return -1 if no piece is found. So if that number is not -1, then we'll change the game state. And after changing the game state, we'll on click we'll get a grid again, and we'll update its position to click grid. So after doing this step, we should be able to move the pieces. So if that piece is the current player, and there's a piece present at that grid, we should be able to change the states and move the player accordingly. After that, I've created the board. So inside the board, there's the main calculate mouse script. So calculate mouse function, and in it will pass the current player. So how will calculate the mouse? So to calculate the moves, first we need to get the direction in which we want to calculate the moves. So if it is red, we are going towards downward direction. So we'll store that direction in a list, and we'll check. If first we'll check if that location has the player, which is current player, then we'll again check if we'll add that grid direction again, and then we'll check again if that location is empty. So check for each player position, and we'll check if the game piece is not the current player, then we'll go to the next loop. And if it is current player, we'll set the direction depending on the game piece. If it is king piece, it does not matter if it is red or blue, and if it is red or blue, we'll set the direction, and then we'll check for each direction. If first we'll get the grid, so we'll add the current direction by position the game, and then we'll check if it is a valid grid. So it needs to be valid, and there needs to be an enemy player present. First, it needs to be valid. Second, the piece number should be not be equal to -1. If the player is present, so get piece at grid -1. And after that, we need to check if whatever is present at that position, its player is not equal to the current player. It needs to be enemy. Then we'll add the direction again, and again we'll check for the valid grid, and now it needs to be empty. So if it is empty, we'll add the move to the temporary moves list, and at the end, well, if there are moves for that piece, we'll add in the player moves. And after that, we need to check for the captured move. So we have created a boolean, so and at the start is captured is set captured. And if it is a captured move, then whenever this loop gets passed, we'll set it to, so we can know it is a captured move. And whenever it is a captured move, we'll create a new dictionary, and we'll pass only the captured moves inside that dictionary, and set the player move to that dictionary. And similarly for the update moves, it's similar. We'll pass the move, and we'll set the position to be the end position, and if it is a captured move, we'll remove the captured. And similarly for the upgrade piece, we'll first get the current position of that piece, and we'll remove that piece from the dictionary. Then we need to upgrade that piece to the king piece. So update its type to the, and after that we'll again add that king piece position to the player position. And finally, we need to get that moves and update in the game managers. So on click, first we are going to uh, pass the calculate move. Then we'll get the move dictionary. If move dictionary dot count is 0, then the game is finished. But if it is not 0, then we'll create a boolean can move, and we'll set it false at the beginning here. And then for the move dictionary, we'll check if the piece which we are clicking is matching any of the piece dictionary. It matches, then we'll set it to true. Can move will be set to true, and if it does not match, then can move will be false. So we'll just return, and the state will not change, and we'll be able to click a new. And if that does happen, then we'll change the state to move. And inside the move, what we'll need to do is whenever we click a grid, it will get a grid position. And after that, we'll need to check in the moves. If for the moves, if any of its end position matches, then we'll do the following. So if it matches, then we need to set the player's position transform to that grid. And after that, if its move type is capture, then remove the captured piece and update the capture inside the board. That was only for the capture. And after that, we'll update the board. So player's position and position. If it has reached the end, any of the piece, will upgrade to a king. So it is or whatever, depending on the red or 7. And we'll set the games. For setting the games, we need to check if we have captured again. Set capture. First, we'll check if not is captured. So currently, we are capturing, and we need to get the is captured move from the my board. So my board dot is captured move and current move is captured. Current move is captured. Be always true. Recalculate the moves. So before that, we'll calculate, and after that, so if it happens, then we'll just return and we'll pass the message. We have created an event, and so if it does not happen, don't have any captured moves here. You set the player to red or blue depending on it. So that was it for the design. So now let's start. So in the Unity, I have the basics and steps. So I've created a new and named it to gameplay. And I have added the title text and I've added the game manager. Let's start first instantiating the boards. Game manager, create a board script. So need to create the constant script. After that, what more script will need? Create the game piece, constant, game manager, and the board. Let's also add the and so let's go inside Unity script. Let's call and after creating the board, create the script that is happening. Maybe there's this board constant, and now we need to create after the game piece, create a script. Let's create the game is problem. The game is error because we have not created any of the variables inside, so it should happen. Now, after doing that, what we need to create is set the main position camera and set the first piece we need to have the block and we'll as a prefab that's 300. Let's make it black. Now we need to set the main camera's size 5. That's and after that we need to position the main camera so the 0 index is at proper location. Let's at 4 and position positive till it does not. This is how the board's endpoints are going. That's why 0.5. So now it's almost in the center. That's how the board, and the block's not going to have much anything. We are set, and so let's set it. After doing that, we need to create the piece. So the piece is going to be a right. That piece. Let's reset it from red. So piece, and after that, save it as a prefab. Then we'll do add a square inside it. Where have, let's say, one will have a size of 5. So this one's for the king piece. Visibility to false for. So that's how it looks. So if we add the blocks also, let's can see in what order did add the can won't match. Uh, and after that, so change it. Just delete it from here, and inside the game manager, we'll let's first spawn the blocks, and after that we'll, so let's go. I'll change you go inside game manager. First we'll need a serialized field for getting the block. So I field, call it for the game object for the block. First we need to add the keys. Let's set it up. Go inside the, going to be a public static class of constant. Right from here, or after doing that, let's add the player. So inside the constant, first we have the in for the player. It will red. After doing that, red. So it's going to struct, have two integers y. We'll need for the moves, so it's going to be public struct move. Let's just here, let's start and then we'll have like boolean capture. Then we'll have a reference to a game. We have not created the game. So the script we have created, we'll call it capture p. We need to create the game. Go inside game piece class. Let's delete the start and the so in the game piece first we'll make here public and here set it. We can only get it private. After that, and that game have a piece. Get it. After that, we'll have a string for the piece type. We'll create the constructor for pass. After that, we pass the the piece. Inside the constant, add the constant. First for the click string, click constant, click. We can set it to but call it clearly. Have the after that and for the two pieces. So that's it for the constants, and the game piece will set the piece type to be constants dot. So every piece is created normal at the start, just set constant. Now in the game manager, we have this for the block, not inside the start. We won't need the awake to is first. Well, let's add the static game manager inside the awake. First, we'll check that this is just to start the game. After doing that, we need to spawn the blocks. So for spawning the blocks, let's I'll just call it. And let's call it. Wait. What we'll do inside the spawn blocks is I is equals to early. So we'll create a new game object. Will be an create for block. For instantiating that, we'll set its vector 3 here. I will pass the negative j, c, 1. After doing that, we need to set its color. So get component need is and dot color equals true. So the color set as percentage 2 is 0. Then set the dot start at 3 for 0 else. So after doing that, we should be able to spawn the block. Let's go inside. Let's add the reference to the block. Let's see if we are getting the box at starting. So when we hit play, it should show us a checkerboard grid. Let's have a look. So add this youth position wherever it is. We are getting. Now after getting the checkerboard, what we need to do is we need to spawn the players. So the players have a piece, and depending on the piece, we'll need to spawn the create the player in the board. And similarly, it's not going to have anything. It will have a first board constructor and its properties of variables, whatever you want. So let's create a new board first inside. Let's go inside Visual Studio. Let's add the player starting position. Add the So to spawn the board, we'll need to store the current player's position. So it will be a dictionary which goes game piece to a grid. Let's do it. First thing we'll need is a dictionary for the player position. So it's going to public dictionary. We'll go game grid. Call it player position. And then need a public dictionary and go from game piece to a list of. And this one we are going to call as player moves. After that, we'll need a public boolean to capture. And after that, we need to add the redirection going to be a request. So I'll just so these are the three lists. The king direction goes in the all four, and the red direction goes downwards because that's one red first. And similarly, the blue goes upwards. After doing that, we should have players. So let's first create the player position. Player position be a new dictionary. Then we'll initialize the player position. Let's So we'll call it, and we'll call the init hide the. So what will do is we'll go for each player, going for each player, go for each I and j. Well, we need we'll create 24 pieces. For that, just create a game piece. For that game piece, uh, set the player to be I and the piece number to be j. For the I, cast it to a players. Will be for the red 0 and blue for the y. Now we need to set its x position and the y position equals to, let's just 0 for and 0. After setting up the position, let's create a temporary grid, and going to be a new grid, x, x y. After doing that, we set the player position for that current piece to be temp. So if we just pass this, it will all the players at the 0th index, but on the players add for the first x, for the x, y position will be easier because we will j multiply by 2. We are multiplying j by 2, and after that divided by 8. It's the y position, and it should spawn accordingly. J divides 4. After that, we'll check for if I equals to 1, then we'll add 5. Else, if I is 1, for the red, we'll not add 5. So let's instantiate it in the game here. So after doing the awake, let's create a new board. Yep, let's create a new. We're spawning the blocks boards. So after the block board, my board is going to be a new. Let's store the position board dot player position. So we are storing it inside a temporary variable. We'll do a for each variable item. So right, and where thread item into up, let's value pair and these thread. So we are getting each game piece, and now we need to spawn all game object After spawning the players, we need to get the player. We need to store that players. You create let's create the boolean. After that, we need the player and dictionary, which goes from game piece to get and game piece. Get it outside that update. Click the piece. Public it. Take two parameters. The first one player. I'm just calling it temp, and we'll create an event and this. So in the awake, after creating the new code, game string equals to it. Move false. Game finished false, and it, and when it create these this index. So everything should be correct. After that, instantiate the piece that piece for piece object dot transform dot position is going to be 3 here. Pass the pair dot value dot x comma native okay, comma color dependent layers at comma dot where dot key dot layer is going. So it should set up the color, and we need to set up the piece dictionary for the piece object item dot key is going to be the should set up. After doing that, let's see if it works and same objects. But add these objects. So it should not have errors. So I'll close that. And we have the piece. Let's position it at -2. So maybe we did inside the game man. Okay. Don't know. Let's hit play again and should show the game pieces. So 0. So it's instantiating the players. Now we need to set its position correct. The studio where we need to spawn. So we are spawning 12 pieces. We are doing divided. After that, position. X position going to be multiplied by 2%. Let's see how it. First thing we need to multiply by 2%. Multiply by 2. So it should spawn. So it should almost spawn and looking like it's spawning correctly. Now what we need to do is we need to move this to the side, move this first and right, right. So will Y position is correct, X position. So for this we'll check. Let's just subtract 1. So it's almost working correctly. Let's see if I did it. A percentage 2 is 8 is correct. And now let's add 1. So what would happen? We just add 1. One position is 0 and 3. We need to subtract 0. J is greater than 3 and J subtract 1 or 0. Right? If J is greater than 3, J is less than 8, J is less and I 0. So if this condition happens, it should shift the bottom one to the left. So play. Similarly, we need to subtract it again. Subtract 1. If equals to 1, Let's add a not condition. So now it should work. Now, if I go in Unity, see the player's position. They are spawned at that position. Now we need to set up the board and the movement. Yep, maybe around 2 hours. We did the init. After that, we create a few. I already done that, so I've created it. So we have initialized the player positions and gotten first thing is get the game piece. So we'll get a game piece and we'll call it get piece at grid. Pass a grid, call it pass. We'll return a new game piece. Number. Okay, not a struct. Pass a grid. Any of it. So we'll do a for each loop in the settings position. And what will check if item.value.x position y y and we'll just turn dot. So it matches and it returns a valid position. Doing that, it should be fine. Now let's create the uh, valid grid. So it's going to be similar for every grid. That is valid grid. Pass a grid. Return m dot y should also be greater than equal to 0. Dot y. And before that, we need to have the update moves. So here will pass the and creating the move again. So is set grid out. After doing that, set the player or the selected game piece and check if it is a captured move. Move dot is capture. So we'll remove move dot captured. After that, we need to have one more for upgrading a piece to a king piece. So to upgrade a piece to a king piece, we'll first do public void piece and upgrade piece piece. So first let's get its position. So pause, grid piece, and put from player position. Grid piece, player position. We already piece. We are removing that piece and not to piece piece type graded game. After that, we'll reinitialize. So that's for the updates. Now we need to calculate the moves. Before calculating the moves, let's see if get piece grid is create it. I didn't do it again. So let's go inside Visual Studio. Where did I left? Valid grid. So valid grid just returns if x is than 0 less than 8 and y is greater than less than the grid. Similarly for the update move, selected piece and let's select piece position. And if that move is a capture move, we'll remove that captured. And similarly for the upgrade piece, we'll get its position, remove that king piece, upgrade that piece to a king piece, and uh, again reinitialize that king piece position. So after that, we should be having board. We need to have the calculate move. So let's create calculate moves and without the capture created before the game piece. Let's do a public void. So public void and here we need to pass the player. It's not going to return anything, but it will change some value. It will change the and we need to initialize the player move or will we'll just after reinitializing it, need to set the is captured move. This captured move will be set to false or we don't know now. What we'll do is each where item, calling it item here, let's first get the grids. So grid, item grid, item value, piece, piece dot piece. So we are getting the piece and grid. So first we need to check if current piece dot player is not equal to current player and we'll continue start a new loop. After doing that, need to get the going to be a list of grids. That list of grid, let's just the current piece direction is going to be first we need to check if it is a king piece. We have stored in the current piece dot piece type king Then set it to direction else. If current piece dot layer is equals to red, then we'll add directions. At the end, if none of it matches, set it. So after doing that, we should get the do is just press for each. Here we'll need to pass grid direct in. We'll check. Let's check grid three plus item is going to grid. Grid item dot. So it increases its first thing. F is valid grid and set grid check equals to mark. So that was empty. That position create a move. Remove struct R was the start grid to be the truth check. Capture is going to be false. Create a new move, add the remove. After doing that, do is for each piece we'll need to check action needed. If temporary moves count greater than 0, count is will do is pair moves current piece. We have stored it in the current piece. Going to it's the pair moves and uh, so it will sure. Let's call it inside the game. Inside the update, first we'll check if so if the game is finished, then return put and any key pressed, let's get position. Suppose just into world point. After doing that, grid, it has a new grid to be casted to an integer, as to an integer is context, add 0, or the center is at 0, but the piece goes to what is the integer for mouse. So it should work. After getting that grid, switch on so the first case going to be the dot text. Second is one going upon last one for the default. Let's attach the break and click first. We'll set the move setting and the click. Then we'll check calculate. Doing that, it's dictionary. Doing that, count. So if the current player cannot move, then if it does not happen, then if the click piece player not equal to player or click the piece uh, and move dictionary, we calculate move and after that and if m dot key the piece that so we can move. After that, we'll check if we cannot and it will pass if we can move that take the game state at the move. So in here we set in let's set up the going to be the code and player mode pass get the most for select a piece, getting that variable item in the most. Let's let's go most. What we'll do is this and move dot take the grid and no dot following. So, let's set the transform inside the piece. Here will pass with x dot y as the position, and let's see if it is working till now. So it should work. We should be able to move one player. Let's change the way. Right. Let's go inside Unity. Whenever we play, change this again. And let's update the picture also. Let's go inside Visual Studio. Let's up tool, ask the turn. Somehow there's some error. And before that, we have done everything. Now we should be able to move everywhere. And let's go inside. When we go inside Unity, let's say play. Blue. When we click here, we are not able to win. And similarly for the red, yeah, you click any of this, Now for the so the players are moving. Now we need to add the message. Says depending on the turn and the game is finished who wins. And after that we need to add the condition for capturing the piece. So capturing the piece is also going to be easy. And let's do. So it's already 1 and 10. So it should finish 1.5 hours. Then longs. Let's first start by updating the board. So to get the board first, and then we need to update the game man at Visual Studio, and it's so inside the board set it to be first condition. We are going to if it is a capture move because we need to check for capture first, then after check if that move. So if it is a capture, there is no need to go for now. So inside here first we check if it is to check, then check if get piece set grid. We are going to check should not be minus. It should. After that, we need to check is the piece let it check player must be equal to then can capture. So for capturing that piece, we need to have a double check. So instead of to check, call it check. Not really. Then conditions if grid double check and double check is a valid grid and get piece set grid and double check dot at piece number equal to minus. So have an empty, create a temporary move, create temporary move that moves here for the start item grid and I'll check captures going to go. After that, the captured piece going to be the get grid double check. And we'll add it temporary add the temporary move. After adding that, we need to set the cap. So add the capturing move. After doing everything, we'll add a condition. So captured move and do is piece. Inside the temp dictionary, do is moves curly and value. If that move is captured and added to the temporary move, create a temporary move. This and add and after adding that, check if 0 add it into. So let's add the temp dictionary for temp value not item dot item dot game be the temporary mouse. Yeah, after doing that for each, we set the player mouse to temp. So the capture should work correctly. Yep, did it correctly, and the moves are working. The update move and the upgrade piece are also working. And now we need to update. Let's create the message. So it's going to be a script and match. We have created an event at the game manager. So we'll subscribe to that event, whatever we want. At the manager, why. So then we are going to add whatever we can call it. Call it update message. Going to be called public void update message. Here update message. Here message grabbing. Do it. Get, get, get. After getting the text, which text default first key add add uh, and after that we'll set the text, click the piece, set its color here, which we have asked. It is red, and as the X. Similarly, finished. So if we are calling on the red, then and need to create it inside Unity engine. So I'll do it later. And now we have created the board, the message. Let's set up the game manager. Inside the game manager, everything. Is yeah, the current player, the key. All we need to do is inside the and here which will pass player. After doing that, before updating, after updating to the player, all move piece. And now let's go inside move. So inside move, change the player's position. But after changing the player's position, check if it's captured. Move dot is captured and piece dictionary item for move captured piece. For so that piece is captured. Let it after updating the move current by and here is the piece going to the piece dictionary. Click the piece. Let 0 will get its game object and create that. And after doing that, we'll create the game script, calculate the mode current player, and if first check if my captured move and current move is captured, the current move dot is, and we go to the message we are going to pass is like, and after that we'll just return so now it should work. The only thing that's remaining is adding the message. We have created the script. So let's go inside Unity and let's hit first. Oh, the okay, okay. Well, we need to add the message. So let's create a yep, create a UI text and let's just add play. Will- So inside the message, let's put 6 at 100. So it shows so there is error play be able to move. There's some error, but now let's see if it is working. After we moved a piece, we forgot to add the message after we pass the message for the current player. Let's see if it is working correctly. There's some error inside. The given key is not present. So let's see what that error is. Is it? So it is getting an error on the capture. Capture. There should be an error. So let's hit play. See where the error is. Click it here. We are getting so this piece is movable. It is working correctly. When we are moving it here, given key was not. Problem that is happening is it is moving it here, but there's some error with the Keys dictionary for the current move.cap inside the board. So the problem's going to be captured piece, not double check. The captured piece is going to be at only check. So that was the only error. Now it should not have any problem. So let's go inside Unity. Let's see. So now we should be able to capture a piece. Now we need to but if we click any of these two capture, now let's do for the double here and let's move uh, is work early. The set active is not set to true. So we should, it is not. Oh, we didn't. So inside the game manager, set act. Let's see where the problem is. We hit play. Checking where is yes. Piece is not getting upgrade. Not to, if so check the piece. So there is a problem with the upgrade and it's not setting the active current move.end. Set for the current move. Let's see where the error is. Play. Our com- Ah, why did that mess? Let's hit play. Please. Now, if we get it here, that's the problem. So, why the piece is not getting upgraded? End is working correct. It should upgrade that piece. It is not working. So, let's go into the studio and I'll try to debug it in 10 to 15 minutes. So, that's just this problem. The piece is not getting upgraded. Everything else, the game is finished. If you want to see how I debugged it, you can watch the video. That was it for the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. If you're watching, let's debug it. So there's a problem with the if. Okay, we just set it for the red. If it is blue, it should have worked. So if the end is 0, see, is blue, then we'll upgrade it. So we are all only getting it for the red. Get it all the pieces we are upgrading were the so now play and maybe it should work because I don't think there is any other problem here. Let's move every piece and let's add capture and let's add it. This piece is getting upgraded. Now we need to check if capture the capture. Check if blue is also getting. Click the so the game finish here. Red wins. There is not. So the red wins and we need to set the color correctly. So the game is finished. We just need to set the color in the message. So if it is red, blue, blue, let's. So there was only that problem with the color and we didn't upgrade the red pieces of blue pieces. So that was it. So let's start hit playing and everything should work correctly. I'll finish just to fill all the pieces. Close that capture piece, turn, move, move. Now should finish. So the game finishes and the blue wins. So as you can see, everything is working correctly. So that was it for this video, and see you guys in the next video. So if you did like the video, do like and subscribe the channel. And if you want to pass any suggestions what type of game video tutorial I should do, you can comment below. And thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next video.